Hello, welcome to Social Perspective. Today we have an important article speaking about caste-based violence against women. Firstly, going into the contents of the article, we have author speaking about intersectional approach. The term intersectional approach was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. What this precisely means is that when the identity of a woman intersects with her caste, class, religion, disability, and sexual orientation, she may face violence and discrimination due to two or more grounds. No, now to prevent this caste-based violence, we have enacted Prevention of Atrocities Act. Under Prevention of Atrocities Act, Section 3, Clause 2, Subclause 5, it is stated that if any person not being an SC or ST member commits any offence under the IPC punishable with imprisonment of 10 years or more against a person on the ground that such a person is from an SC or ST community, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for life and with fine. Now, this was amended in 2015 to change the phrase on the ground that such a person is a member of SC or ST to knowing that such a person is a member of SC or ST. This is very important because knowing that such a person is a member of SC or ST means caste consciousness is required. Now, this makes it difficult for the courts to convince that the member is aware of caste of the victim. That is why in cases of sexual violence against Dalit and Adivasi women, courts have almost consistently set aside convictions under the Prevention of Atrocities Act. This is the precise reason why the author has written this article. She feels for the courts to recognize the prevention of to recognize the caste-based violence against women and not set aside convictions under the Prevention of Atrocities Act, because these cases are being set aside and the culprits are being acquitted due to lack of evidence against them, and courts are not adequately being convinced that the culprit has done that violence against the victim merely due to caste consciousness, because the law has been amended in 2015, knowing that such a person is a member of SC or ST is required. Further, the author says when a woman is from a marginalized caste and is disabled, she faces discrimination due to her sex, caste, or tribe, and disability, all of which render her vulnerable to sexual violence. This is what intersectionality theory requires us to recognize. Finally, the author has to say that the repeated setting aside of convictions under the Prevention of Atrocities Act bolsters the allegations that the law is misused and amounts to the erasure of caste-based violence faced by women. Now, if we look into this article in social perspective, we have Louis Dumont speaking about ideology theory. He feels that the caste is being propagated from one generation to other generation through ideology or through ideas of purity and pollution concept. Idea of one wearing one cloth being pure and wearing another cloth being impure. Idea of eating vegetarian being pure and eating non-vegetarian being impure. This distinction between pure and impure have driven caste system in India through generations. But we have Joseph Tharamangalam denying Louis Dumont because the members of society take forward caste system not merely through ideologies but through violence also. Violence may be physical violence, that is beating lower caste people, or emotional violence, that is abusing them, verbal abusing them, or sexual violence. Now, this is precisely what has happened in this case, and that is caste-based violence against women. Members of society are trying to enforce caste system through violence, but that violence may not merely be due to caste, it may be due to other reasons also. Other factors may also have helped them to impose violence against them. This is what intersectionality approach says. If you look at this intersectional approach, this closely coincides with the concept of Trinitarian approach as taken by Andre Bataille. Andre Bataille says that there are inequalities in society, but those inequalities are not solely due to caste. They are also due to class and power. Now, this class, power, and status in a combined set drive inequalities in society as felt by Andre Bataille. To address these inequalities, we have M.N. Srinivas saying that this caste consciousness is decreasing in Indian society and caste is fading away. M.N. Srinivas says that modern education and erosion of caste occupation nexus, that means caste-based division of labor, have helped to fading away of caste in Indian society, feels M.N. Srinivas. Also, to reduce violence against lower caste, we have Amartya Sen saying that better political organizations among underprivileged groups are required. Now, these three combined will address the inequalities in society, because modern education and erosion of caste occupation nexus gives them takes the lower underprivileged sections to higher class, because of as they will be given better economic status. Now we have power also, because better political organization underprivileged groups gives the underprivileged groups better power, and through erosion of this caste system, better status also will be given to them. Now this trinitarian approach will be combinedly addressed with the help of M.N. Srinivas and Amartya Sen, who try to address caste system, and thus inequalities in society can be reduced. Now, why these inequalities must be reduced in society? Because Immanuel Durkheim feels that it is inequalities in society that drive conflict. While criticizing Karl Marx that capitalism is the reasons for inequality in society, Immanuel Durkheim says that it is not capitalism, it is denial of equality of opportunity, which leads to exclusion and alienation and leads to inequalities in society, and these inequalities drive conflict in society, says Immanuel Durkheim. This conflict is nothing but violence, as we are seeing here. So to address this violence, modern education is required, that is access to better access, equality of opportunity, better access to education, erosion of caste occupation nexus, that means caste based division of labor, and better political organization. All these are combinedly required in a society to reduce inequalities. Now, if we look into this Prevention of Atrocities Act in Immanuel Durkheim's solidarity concept, this Prevention of Atrocities Act tries to impose upon the individual who are violating collective consciousness of a society in repressive manner. That means it is trying to punish the individual throughout his life. That means this law is repressive in nature. Now, these repressive kind of laws are existent in societies which have mechanical solidarity, but not in modern societies trying for organic solidarity. Hence, organic solidarity is always required to always look for restoring status quo, not look for imposing punishment upon the individual. Hence, this kind of laws, though are necessary but not sufficient to bring organic solidarity in society. To bring organic solidarity and bring greater social cohesion that is sustainable in society, we need such laws, but those laws are not sufficient. We need more. That is, when people are committing caste-based violence against the lower caste, these acts just merely act as deterrent against them. We don't just need deterrence. We need them to stop committing such crimes voluntarily, not out of fear from punishment. Now that can be done only through empowerment of underprivileged groups, empowerment of lower sections of society. If lower sections are empowered, upper castes do not find any distinction between them and the lower castes, and hence violence may automatically stop. But how to bring that empowerment? We have already discussed. That is modern education, erosion of caste occupation nexus, and political organization among underprivileged groups. If we look into this article in Talcott Parsons' perspective also, it tries to bring a Prevention of Atrocities Act only tries to bring social control, that is enforcement of law in or through police action. It does not try to bring socialization in society or better social cohesion. Hence, Talcott Parsons, Immanuel Durkheim, M.N. Srinivas, Andre Bataille, Louis Dumont, and Joseph Taramangalam, we have discussed in this article to try to find social perspectives out of what is written by the author. Moving on, there is an article speaking 6 arrested for lynching man. Now, mob lynching we have already discussed in our earlier episodes. This is a mob lynching is a classical example of Immanuel Durkheim speaking about social fact. Immanuel Durkheim says that individual actions are driven by societal compulsions. We have also Elton Mayo comprehending Immanuel Durkheim and supporting him, saying that individuals do many actions to place them on par with other members of the society. Individuals may compromise their personal interest to see them better off when compared to the other members in society. So this is a classical example of that instance, society having its influence on the individual behavior. This we have already discussed. This again, mob lynching. We analyze this concept using Immanuel Durkheim's perspective. Moving into the next article, antisocial elements warned. Antisocial elements, this article speaks about lockdown has resulted in the rise of sale of ganja and other narcotic substances, and these antisocial elements were warned by the police. Now, if we look into this article in social perspective, this is again warning to antisocial elements, is again trying to bring social control in society. as open as discussed by Talcott Parsons. Talcott Parsons, while discussing social change, he says there are two ways to restore social change in the society. The one is socialization, and the other one is social control. Socialization is nothing but imbibing values in the society and striving for better social cohesion, while social control is nothing but imposing law with brute force or through police action. This warning by the police against antisocial elements comes under social action. If you look into this article in R.K. Martin's perspective, we have already discussed about conformity and deviance concept. Now, the sale of ganja and other narcotic substances is a substance is a deviance from cultural goals and institutional means. This may not be due to thrill or a thrill as opened by Walter Miller, or maybe due to frustration by Albert Cohen. It may be need for them. This is why R.K. Martin has said that there are everything in the society is functional. That is why R.K. Martin is a functionalist. While discussing lockdown, we discussed that lockdown, as per R.K. Martin, has both manifest and latent functions. What manifest function is that lockdown tries to lockdown just reduces the spread of virus, but what latent function is that this spike in sale of ganja and other narcotic substances. But R.K. Martin says even this sale of ganja and narcotic substances is functional to society because those who are involved in selling of these substances were hitherto deprived of opportunities for better livelihood. Now, as the lockdown is imposed, they are getting opportunity to sell these substances and gain better livelihood. That is what R.K. Martin. That is how R.K. Martin substantiates his theory of manifest and latent function. This is why he was being criticized that R.K. Martin fails to distinguish between what is functional and what is dysfunctional to the society. The sale of ganja and other narcotic substances supposed to be dysfunctional to the society, but R.K. Martin feels that even this is functional to the society. That is what criticism against R.K. Martin. Moving on, we have a last article speaking about Maratha community brought under EWS quota. We already discussed about reservations, why reservations are given to the underprivileged sections of society to give them better equality of opportunity or access to better education and health. Why this equality of opportunity needs to be given, we already discussed. Imail Durkheim feels that denial of equality opportunity is the reason for alienation, it is the reason for exclusion, and it is a reason for conflict in society and not necessarily capitalism as opened by Karl Marx. That is why better equality of opportunity for underprivileged sections must be given to bring them on par with other sections of the society and to bring equality in society. Because equality avoids conflict in society and restores social order. That is why reservations are necessary as opined by Imail Durkheim. This is all about today's newspaper in social perspective. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Social Perspective. Thank you and have a nice day.